This is Dave McAllister, the archivist at Gwynedd-Mercy University. What follows is an excerpt from an oral history interview I conducted with Sister Virginia Hasson. She was instrumental in setting up the overseas tutorial program, which allowed Laotian and Cambodian refugees in Thailand the ability to further their education. I asked her to describe the program to me.
What happened was in 1984, Father Ed Brady, who was a Jesuit, came to visit Sister Isabel Keys. And he had this idea. In Thailand, in the refugee camps, the refugees were permitted to have primary education, but they were not able to have anything post grade 6. The reason being that the Thai children did not have free education after that. So the Thai authorities they had a policy of deterrence. So they did not want refugees coming for education. So they thought the harder the camps were, the fewer people would cross the border. And also they didn't want the Thai villagers to say, you're giving more to the refugees, or the refugees are getting more, because it would be the United Nations who would be supplying it in the camp, education in the camp. So Father Ed Brady was working on the Laotian border at that point in the camps. Other Jesuits were working on the Cambodian border. So Father Ed had the idea that we could circumvent that by not teaching in the camp, but doing a tutorial. And he knew us at Gwynedd, and so he came to speak with Sister Isabel. And my phone, I was the head of the education department. My phone rang one day, and she said, Father Ed Brady's here. He has an idea. Do you want to talk about it? So I went down. We talked about it. It seemed feasible. So what we set up was, Sister Madeline Smith and I went over the summer of '84. Just for a brief visit, and we saw the need and we saw the possibility. There were really anxious learners in the camp. They wanted to learn so much, so we felt that they would. It was doing something through the mail. I mean, we're talking '84, and also the camps didn't have electricity or anything like that. Even if there were computers, it couldn't have worked. So what we organized on both the Cambodian border and the Laotian border in the camps was that Gwynedd would organize an overseas tutorial in math and English. And the tutors would be faculty at Gwynedd and also our senior sisters. So we set it up, and it worked very well. We used tapes, we used that, and back and forth in the mail. And some of that was facilitated by the Jesuits who would, maybe someone would be coming over this way. But they really stayed with it. And so that was the summer of '84. Then the summer of '85, we worked on that the whole year. Summer of '85, Sister Isabel and I went over for 5-6 weeks to move the program along and to do some teaching ourselves in the camp. But I was supposed to, at that point in time, have a sabbatical to finish my doctorate. But I was feeling, this isn't right. I'm getting this doctorate. And during Pol Pot time, the teachers were killed. So there were very few teachers in the camp. And we had 130,000 refugees in Site 2 alone. This is not talking about they were Cambodians and mostly Cambodians, some Vietnamese, and the Laotians up on the Laotian border. They didn't have much. So I asked the community, since Gwynedd wasn't expecting me anyway because I had a sabbatical, could I go over there for the year? So I went over for the year, and then another year, and then another year. But Gwynedd supported when things that I taught there, they would get a certificate with Gwynedd-Mercy College on it. It was, this is interesting. About 6 weeks ago, I got an email from someone saying, I have been looking for you for 20 years. Here was it. He was young when I taught him. Now he's middle-aged. Man that I taught in the camp. And he was resettled here. And the way he found me was he got that certificate. And he saw Gwynedd-Mercy. He went out. He thought, I have to find... So he contacted Gwynedd. Through Gwynedd, he contacted me. So I met him. We had lunch. He lives in Delaware now. He said he kept asking every Cambodian he met, do you know where Sister Virginia is? I know she's in this country someplace. And so he and his wife and his mother and his daughter came up, and we had a wonderful reunion. So it was good. But Gwynedd's also part in this, that in, I guess maybe 87, 88, I don't know, Gwynedd agreed that we would bring some Cambodians over to study on campus, but it was not for resettlement. It was very, very clear. So I was in the camp at the time, so I gave an English test to see, and then those who did best in that English test, I had their peers decide who they felt would come back and make a contribution in Cambodia. And so their peers selected them. And it was quite wonderful.
How long were they at...
They got their associate degree. So I guess 4 or 5 came over.